There is a moment in every Capricorn life when you look around the room you are standing in and you realize that the structure has quietly organized itself around you. The chair at the head of the table is yours by default. The decisions are routed through you whether you soft them or not. The phone calls about the difficult things come to you, not to the person who was supposed to be in charge. And you cannot remember when this became true. There was no announcement, no promotion, only a slow drift over years in which everyone around you came to depend on the fact that you would still be there, weighing the thing properly when the moment of decision arrived. You did not run for this position. You may have actively avoided it. You may have, more than once, tried to step back and let someone else carry the weight, only to watch the weight migrate back toward you within weeks, because the structure could not hold without your presence at that point. And so you returned to the position you did not choose, and you carried it again, and the cycle deepened. This is the pattern most people read in you as ambition. They watch the inevitability of your rise and assume there must have been wanting somewhere underneath it. The popular reading of Capricorn says you are climbing, oriented toward the top of every structure you enter, never resting until you are in charge. Most explanations of Capricorn leadership begin from this premise. Most of them are wrong. I am going to show you the actual mechanism, and you will recognize it immediately because you have lived it. The reading is not malicious. It is just the reading available from outside. From outside, the Capricorn always becomes the boss. From inside, you know the becoming was not about bosshood at all. It was the slow accumulation of weight that other people stopped being willing to carry, and you did not stop. The title came afterward, and often you only noticed it had arrived when someone introduced you to a stranger using it, and you had a small moment of dissonance because you did not think of yourself that way. What the popular reading misses is that ambition is a forward-leaning posture. Ambition wants. Ambition pushes. The Capricorn build does not feel like that from the inside. It feels like a steady stance under load that does not shift even when other people drift. The position rises around you not because you climbed toward it, but because everyone else stepped back when the weight got serious, and you remained in place. You were not climbing, you were standing. The structure climbed around you. This is why the same Capricorn who has been told for years that they are too ambitious will privately wonder whether they are ambitious at all. Outwardly the most reliable person in the structure, inwardly often quite tired of the responsibility, and never quite sure how this happened. Ambition explains the outside. It does not explain the inside, where what is happening is not appetite, but architecture. To see the architecture, we have to go to a tradition older than the popular astrology that produced the climbing Capricorn cliché. In Vedic astrology, there is a figure called the kalapurusha, the cosmic body, the body of time. The kalapurusha is the entire zodiac mapped onto a single human form. Each sign rules a portion of the cosmic body, from Aries at the head down through every sign in sequence to Pisces at the feet. The kalapurusha is not a metaphor in the loose sense. It is a map of where the energetic load of each sign sits in the body of the world. Capricorn, in the kalapurusha, rules the knees. That much you may have heard in popular treatments. But the kalapurusha is also overlaid on the natural zodiac of houses, and in this overlay, each sign corresponds to a house. Capricorn corresponds to the 10th house, the house of public role, of vocation, of the visible structure a person ends up carrying in the world. The 10th house is the highest point of the chart, the midheaven, the place where the chart meets the noon sky. It is the keystone position of the entire architecture of the chart. And Saturn, your ruler, is the natural significator of the 10th house in the older traditions. Saturn is the planet of the keystone position. Capricorn is the sign that corresponds to it. You were assembled before you were born at the precise intersection where the planet of structural responsibility meets the house of structural visibility. The kalapurusha encodes this in the body itself. Your sign sits exactly on the load-bearing point of the cosmic axis. This is why the popular reading of ambition cannot explain you. Ambition is a Mars phenomenon, the energy of pushing forward toward what is wanted. Saturn is a different operation entirely. Saturn does not push. Saturn holds. When a Saturn-ruled person enters a structure, the structure recognizes load-bearing capacity in the person and quietly routes the load there. The ascent is not pursued, it is conducted by the structure itself toward the point that can hold. The kalapurusha tradition has a phrase for this position: the keystone of the cosmic arch. The keystone is the wedge of stone at the apex of any classical arch, the single block that locks all the others in place. Without the keystone, the arch falls. With the keystone, the arch stands for 2,000 years. The keystone did not seek to be the keystone. It is whichever stone happened to be at the apex when the structure was built. From that moment forward, the building depends on that one stone not moving. This is your position in any room you have entered for long enough. What I am giving you here is the architecture of why Capricorn leadership exists at all. The kalapurusha mechanics by which a Saturn-ruled body becomes the load-bearing point of any structure it enters. Knowing why the structure organizes itself around you is awareness. Knowing the exact windows of your decade when this dynamic intensifies, and the windows when it loosens, is power, because it allows you to take on the visible position when the timing is on your side, and to hold the line when the pressure is highest. That timing, by week and by year and by decade, is what I track on the Patreon. The foundation tier maps the weekly mechanics of Saturn leadership pressure. The inner circle tier breaks the activation down by your decade, because the keystone position activates at slightly different angles in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s. Now that you have the kalapurusha frame, you will see the keystone function operating in places you did not connect to leadership at all. You will see it in the way your friend group has, somehow, made you the one they call when something serious happens. You did not volunteer for this. You may have privately resented it when the call came at an inconvenient time, and you were the one who had to think clearly while everyone else was falling apart. But you took the call. You thought clearly. The friend group, over years, simply stopped routing the serious calls anywhere else, because the routing always returned to you. You will see it in your family. There is, in nearly every Capricorn family of origin, a quiet understanding that the difficult logistical or financial or medical question, when it arrives, will land on you. Not because you are the oldest or the most successful. Often you are neither. The arrival of the difficult question on your doorstep does not follow the visible hierarchy of the family. It follows the load-bearing geometry of family, and Saturn placed you at that point, regardless of birth order. You will see it in projects you joined casually, planning to contribute a small piece. 6 months in, you are running the project, and you are not sure how this happened. The original lead became less available. The structure began to wobble, and the wobble routed toward you because you did not wobble back. The position attached itself to you in the way these positions always attach to Capricorns, quietly, after the fact, with no announcement. You will see it in the way strangers ask you for directions or what time it is, even when other people are standing closer. There is a weight in the way a Capricorn body holds its place that reads across the room as, "This person knows what they are doing." The reading does not arrive because you are projecting confidence. It arrives because you are not visibly destabilized, and other people, scanning the room for where to direct their question, route it toward the most stable structure they see. What you have been told about your leadership, that you are too serious, that you should lighten up, that you should let other people carry their share, was not entirely wrong. There are situations in which the keystone could relax and the arch would still hold. You can, with practice, learn the difference between weight that genuinely needs you and weight that is merely defaulted to you out of habit. This is real adult work, and it is worth doing. But the keystone build itself is not the problem. The keystone build is the design. Saturn placed you at the load-bearing point of any architecture you enter, and that placement is not a personality choice you can amend. The chair at the head of the table is yours not because you wanted it, but because the room has organized itself around the structural fact that you do not move when the pressure rises. Place your hand on your back, Capricorn. Feel the long muscles that run alongside the spine, from the base of your skull down to the small of your back. Feel where they are tighter than they should be, where they have been holding a posture you did not consciously assume, but that has become the shape of your body. That tightness is the keystone position registered in your tissue. Your back has been carrying the architecture before your title named the architecture. The medical name for the muscle is the erector spinae, the lifter of the spine. And that is exactly what it has been doing your whole life. Lifting and holding the spine in the upright position the structure around you required. This is not exhaustion as failure. This is endurance as design. The load-bearing patience of a body that was assembled to hold the apex position in any room it remained in long enough. The years you spent feeling tired without being able to name what you were tired of were the years the keystone was carrying the structure that nobody else had named. You have been the boss of the room since long before you had any title for it. The title, when it arrived, was simply the room admitting in language what the room had been doing in geometry for a long time. The leadership is not the problem. The leadership is the form your structural integrity takes in any architecture that has weight to distribute. What your back has been carrying, your title has merely caught up to. So now you walk into your relationship with authority differently, knowing what the architecture is. You stop apologizing for being the one the structure routed itself toward. You stop accepting the diagnosis that you are too ambitious. The diagnosis comes from a model of leadership that does not understand load-bearing geometry. You honor the keystone position when it is genuinely yours, and you also begin to discriminate between weight that needs you and weight that is merely defaulted to you. The honoring is what allows the discrimination to be honest rather than reactive. And you stop hiding the keystone position out of modesty when the structure clearly depends on it. The chair at the head of the table is not a brag. The chair is a description of where the load currently sits, and pretending it sits elsewhere helps no one. You can sit in the chair without making a performance of sitting, because the chair was never a performance to begin with. It was just the seat that the geometry of the room required someone to occupy. You now understand who Saturn made you to be in any structure you enter. The Patreon shows you when this keystone function is most heavily activated for you specifically. The years of your decade when the load arrives. The windows when the structure most needs your stillness. The seasons when even your considerable structural integrity needs to be calibrated against the planetary pressure on your specific chart. The architecture is yours forever. The timing I track on Patreon, week by week and decade by decade. You did not become the boss because you wanted to be. You became the boss because you were the keystone, and the room knew it before you did. And the room has been routing itself around your stillness for as long as the room has existed. The chair was always yours. You're simply the last to be told. Master Alistair. Only Capricorn. Only depth.